It's happening. But you
Perfect.
stream your game too, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, no, we're fine, man. We're just chatting. We can just chat. It's
What the
fine. I mean, I want a game with you,
I know,
so
I do
we'll
too.
wait for you. We'll wait
I'm
for
really
if it doesn't
upset
work.
about this situation. It seems like I I shut down Discord,
Hmm.
so I think that helped. But what I'm concerned about is when I look at Diablo, it has a price next to it. That doesn't make
Ooh,
sense.
that's weird. It's almost like something is not registering who you are. Are you signed into Blizzard?
Yeah, man, Mikey G NFT, brah.
Blizzard should
View
be
my
Redman PSU.
Mm. Mikey G's accounts. Store preferences, store purchase history, view purchase history. Uh, oh, wait, is this not the right one, though? Mikey G NFT. Account details Mikey G out? Is that the issue? It's the
Mm,
wrong. It's the wrong. Where do you find that code? Because wasn't it Redman PSU at some
yeah,
point?
it was. That is absolutely what you're supposed to be. So when you go into Blizzard, you should be that.
Bro, I hate being a boomer sometimes. People probably watch me and they're like, "Ha, man, this guy's got his shit together." But in reality, I don't got shit together. Uh,
I mean,
I mean,
no.
I'm streaming, I'm doing all these spaces, and I can't even figure out how the hell to get my Diablo to work. Hmm. Yeah, see, this says Mikey G out on this one, which is weird, really weird. That's what's in my profile. Oh, you know why you're thinking of like this is my actual Steam account. It's just when I play through my PlayStation, it brings up my PlayStation account name, even though it's linked on the back end to my Mikey G NFT.
Okay.
That's what's going on.
There
So
we
yeah, I
go.
figured that out. So now if I just look at Diablo for says 49.99. I don't you it should just say download, right? Like, why in the fuck is it making me add it to the cart?
I don't know. And why
Bro,
does it even need to download? I mean, you already been playing on the computer, haven't you?
shit's gone, bro. It's not even there. Yeah, fucking
That's
stupid.
wild.
Well, this is what we're gonna do, man. I'm gonna
We're,
join on my cell phone, and we're gonna straight up we're gonna game while I talk on my cell phone. One good thing about StreamYard is it's totally mobile friendly, you know,
that is good.
which is fantastic. So like
I do
I
love that.
can log in right now.
I mean, just throwing it out there, or we could just chat. It's whatever you want,
I
man.
was so looking forward to gaming.
I mean, then that's fine.
Let's chat and game. But
All right.
start chatting right now, man. Start chatting right now. What's on your mind? Give it to me.
Well, as I was saying, man, just I think we the last time we did this, we were talking about the importance of um, a niche, and then we've known that for a long time. And the concept of the everyday entrepreneur is definitely intriguing, right? It's like how do regular people break out of the mold, the rat race, and everybody's selling a new thing. Some are gimmicks, some aren't.
Mhm.
Um, but essentially, everybody's selling their side hustle and more importantly, their class to take if you pay them to learn it, right?
Right.
And I get that. But the question is just like, which of these are viable, which aren't viable? And then when it comes to content, what Gary Vee was talking about when it comes, you can create content now that can go viral without having 1 million subscribers, which is a big difference as compared to how it was maybe 10 years ago or even 5 years ago.
Yes.
And on accounts. So then the question becomes, okay, what's the step to find the right content? And you and I were talking last time about basically taking a video and making so many versions of it and then looking at the numbers to see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And I wanted to continue the conversation from there and say, okay, how do we apply that? And that's what I'm curious about.
No, I think it's a great conversation. So I think load up your Diablo first so we can get that going, because I am going to hop on my PlayStation.
Okay.
What the hell, dog? Why is that not flipping the camera? It's not flipping the camera. Well,
That's
whatever.
weird.
We'll do it this way. You know what's annoying is I think I opened it up within the Discord app. So not the actual web browser, but whatever, it's fine. So yeah, you load it up and I'll join your game.
Okay.
And we can still game and just you share your screen and we'll continue the conversation.
Okay.
So we talked about this, but I thought you said you had some thoughts around it.
Well, all right, hold on here. Let me get out of what I'm doing because I'm playing Diablo right now. And
Well, no, that's fine. I can just join you. Just stay there.
Okay.
Should be able to just join you. So did you have some further thoughts about that? Because I think yesterday when we talked, you're like, dude, I'm excited to talk. I have some thoughts on content. So what was that?
So I think first off is I am surprised that there's a lot more people. Okay, kind of rewinding. We were working on trying to get larger names associated by getting like a Gary V video or a whatever video to post on the channel, right? And that's cool. It's motivating, but it's not us. And I think one of the things that's interesting is that I think regular people can produce content that's watchable. The key is just going to be. I'm about to die. Hold up, my brain can't do these two things, man. I'm dead.
It's all good. I invited you to the party. I will crunch, and you won't have to worry as much.
There we go. All right. So now I'm with you.
Yeah.
So.
And you now need to share your screen though too.
Oh, okay. All right, hold on.
Because our videos will still stay up. While you're doing that, I'm gonna go get up. I'm gonna go get my drink. I was real excited. I got me a big old cup of ice and a little diet soda.
Oh boy.
They're so bad for you, but they're so good.
So bad.
They're so bad for you. Oh man. But I'm there. I'm excited about it.
Are you in this map with me? Yeah, there you are. Okay. All right.
I just went to the portal. So I just need to add your screen to the
all right, let me share my screen. Hold up. Present. Share screen.
Yeah, present that game screen, baby.
Oh, I got you.
Bo. All
right. That's up.
You know,
so yeah.
Why is it not showing? Though, can you add your screen at the bottom? Do you see it
it's
at
on
the bottom?
Yeah, it's on the bottom.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, we did this last time. You had to do something to see it. Like you have to look at the pre-show room or something to find it. All
Boom,
right.
baby. Oh, dude. Bongi's here.
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about. Bongi is
Dude, Bongi,
here.
how is it going?
It's game time, baby. All right, so we're all up and loaded. Your
Okay.
thing's streaming. I'm dead, and I'm gonna have to go back to town, fix my armor, and then find you again. But yeah, so your thought process here, though, is, and we thought about this, using bigger notoriety names will help our views. But really, the reality of the situation is, it really is all about, and I've been saying this, from day one. I just didn't know how, I don't know how to manifest it. And that's where having someone like Zach James, who was on the show, uh, who's built a YouTube channel with over 10 million followers and 4 billion views, he understands. And really, what you're doing is the equivalent of a business and product market fit. You have to find the audience that resonates with your content, and then you got to find the content once you find your audience that resonates even further with that audience, right? And
Yes.
what we haven't done yet is on YouTube. What I have done, and what my intuition was this year, was part of my style is Web3. And what we knew, which is starting to happen, is that the Web3 space was not ready for our content. And it
Mhm.
still isn't, considering that the major thing that's driving the NFT Web3 crypto space right now is meme coins.
Yeah.
Our content being genuine, human centered, doing the right thing, those people don't give a shit about that. And that's a majority of the space, right? But what is happening is real people are coming in that are entrepreneurs, that are trying to do things the right way. And now our content is resonating a lot more within this specific niche, right? And so now, how do we change our content to hit this niche? So that's one creative output. And then how do we change our content just creatively? I'm not saying the actual video of the podcast, that has been proven out that that's good content. I'm
Yeah.
saying, how do we create a second look and feel for YouTube to hit a different niche, and maybe the content's slightly different in the sense of the topics that are covered, right? And that's it. It's that simple. And then we need to find, the real simple thing about Web3 at this point too is it's very, very small, and where the audience lives. It lives on Twitter, right? Whereas if you're creating an everyday entrepreneurship brand, they're all over the internet, and it's saturated on YouTube. So how do you get your content to resonate with the audience in something that's so hyper competitive?
Yeah, and that's the question, right? But to the point, so what Gary Vee was talking about though is if you are supplying content to the people interested in that, right? The reason that's such a saturated market is people are interested in it.
For
And
sure.
so what is interesting is here's how I took that video. I took it as, okay, previously, if I had 5 million subscribers and you have 5 subscribers and we both put out an entrepreneurial video, YouTube is automatically going to make me win this equation because I have 5,000 or 5 million subscribers.
Yep.
However, if or now, because they're looking for content that's curated to send to a specific person based on their interests,
Mm-hmm.
now your video, even with 5 subscribers, can get pushed to that person. And if the video is good, it will perform. And
For
so,
sure.
what I think is interesting is that there is a large audience looking to consume that content. So, then how can Midlife Crisis produce content that is interesting in that field? And it might be, maybe it does have to be hyper niche in terms of like just the Web3 side of it. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what it is. But that's tough though, because like I get a lot of the real estate side. Well, so what do? You know, you don't have to, you either have two channels or you have to pick one, or you broaden the topic, and you risk picking up 50% of one crowd versus the other, right? And
Oh,
we've
no,
been talking
no.
about this for a long time.
So I disagree with that. And
Okay.
I disagree for this reason. And this is the point I was trying to make when I said, where are you, by the way? I see
I
your
had to go
dot,
back
but
down because I died.
okay, well, just travel to me then. Um,
I'm gonna go back because where I was is where the
I
boss is.
disagree with you in this sense. And that's what Gary Vee or any good content creator is doing, is in the sense that we we have done the hard part, and we've said this at nauseum. We
Mm,
have a podcast that's interesting. We have a podcast that 100% of the guests have said, this is a phenomenal experience, one of the best, if the best, or if not one of the best things I've done.
okay.
Product market fit is nailed, right? Now, if you look at Gary Vee's Instagram account, for instance, it looks like a schizophrenic person has built his content.
Yeah.
He is using his kindness entrepreneurship content, but the reason why it looks schizophrenic is because he's targeting all of those markets, right? So
Yeah.
my argument is our company is still midlife crisis. Our mission is still bringing back the lost art of genuine human connection. And now we need to figure out what audiences resonate with that and then cater the creative to those contents. There doesn't need to be separate channels. There doesn't need to be separate brands. There needs to be separate content funnels.
Okay. I can dig that. So then what I would want to know is, with our we have a okay, so we have the podcast, but
Right,
content that you and I can create to put out there, right?
right.
Should it be kind of like this, where here's where we're doing something, but overlaid, we're doing something else and we're just chatting? Is it just
Yeah,
raw clips from the show? Like, how do you want to get those interesting things out? And your original idea, we have all of this stuff already from the podcasts, so let's use it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, which I get. And I think that that's a smart way to play it. I just think that we've also talked about, cataloging that can also be quite a bit too.
yeah.
Um, so we need to find a way to create content quickly that's pertinent and attracts the audience that the interest based on the audience that we want to reach.
Right.
Um,
And so my answer is this. We don't know the answer, and we need to continue to rocket out content in many different formats. So for instance, take the Web3 in specific. I now have the podcast. I have a plague space sponsored by Pons, who's literally coming on my space on Friday. I am co-hosting a space with another project that I believe in called The District, that's all about community. And then with another, uh, I'm on the team of DSK DAO and about to host another space that's going to have a totally different topic. But my point is, my brand is still the same in all of those
sure.
vehicles, right? And so we just need to do the similar thing with our content. So it should be this. We should commit to this once a week. There's going to be
Hmm.
the live, informal, impromptu content. We see if this audience grows. We see what resonates. Is it playing video games? Do we do next time where me and you just make sure we have some talking points and we talk about the talking points? We don't play games, right?
Yeah.
And we evolve the type of content in this informal situation. And then as far as the other stuff, it's pieces of the podcast. It's continuing to get different guests on the podcast. And then other things that we talked about, like me and you just riffing on current events or topics, but
Yes.
making it more curated videos. That's what we do, right?
And that is interesting to me for sure. Um, the the question I have is this. Okay. How do we use the content to move? Okay, before, the model was, I need an audience because you can then use that audience. Let's use back in the heyday of the NFTs, right? The bigger the
Mhm.
audience, the easier it is to sell out a mint because you have a curated audience of people who are interested in that topic, right? But it was
Right.
all about essentially a sale. And in us, it's like, well, if we just want to help people and build more human connection and we want people to respond and resonate with that, okay, totally cool. What is because originally you had mentioned, the idea of like a master class or something like that, which I think is awesome. Um, what is the way to like, essentially, like, how does this all work? And you were talking about essentially using this with creatives and saying this is a product essentially that we can offer based on our experience with what we're doing. And I
Yeah.
guess what I'm trying to do is just like I'm taking all of these side pieces and saying, how do we put this together? It's like I have a Rubik's cube that's unsolved. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
then it's like I got one side, one color, but I don't know how to get it all the same thing
Right.
matching. You know what I mean? Because I feel like if
Eh,
I focus on one, I can get it all blue or I can get it all green, but that's not solving it. You know what I mean?
yeah. And so this is where I think my response is something that like will be hard for you to hear because your mind doesn't think this way and mine does. Like this is Mikey G heaven, right? Because the only way to get data and insight and feedback is by being scatterbrained, by being that schizophrenic Gary
Oof.
V page. And your mind does not think like that. My
No, it
mind
does not.
does. And I love being all over the place. That is the answer. And but there's one more answer. And this guy, Zach said it very clearly, even in the beginning, right? He does not attribute 10 million followers and 4+ billion views on his YouTube to being early. He was like, yes, that's a little bit of it. But guess what he did, bro? Which we're the best thing possible at.
He
And we've
networked.
reiterated this a couple times. Social media is called social media for a reason. It's social. We network. We continue to do what we're doing. And he even, it's funny. The last two guests that I've had on have literally verbatim said what you said, which was you give, you build the relationships, and all you need is one of these to hit. And that one hit can completely change the trajectory of your life. And I know we're building in the right way, and I know we will get that one hit if we keep on doing it. But in the meantime, we scatterbrain content as much as that hurts to hear.
Yeah.
So we do that and we build. And if scatterbraining is something you want, and this is something I can work on with other people, right? We should just put your best foot forward, which is we know what it is, man. It's networking, right? And
Hmm.
we concentrate on that on the two channels that we're concentrating on now, which is YouTube and
And Twitter.
Twitter, and that's it. And that, literally, I'm just riffing real time, and
Yeah.
I'm convincing myself this is the answer already. I'm just riffing real time right now, and it absolutely is the answer, right? And that is where we can utilize your strengths in the sense that it doesn't have to be crazy, right? It is, we build you a Calendly. We have the half hour, we have the half hour block, and you just start reaching out to some people that you think make sense. And if we want to start with the real estate people, because you've had the real estate, right? Let's bring the real estate people on the podcast. Let's show them the base product, which we have is the genuine human connection in the podcast, and then go from there, right? It does not have to be one, specific demographic, and we need to figure that out. And again, I'll continue to reiterate, we have the hardest part figured out, which is we
Yeah.
have a product that people know that they like. We like, I mean, sorry, we have a product that we know people like, and the hardest part, we're good at it, bro. And when you add natural ability to something that people like and then we're good at, I am firmly convinced the equation is now just time.
Okay. So I hear what you're saying. Allow me an analogy. In real estate, there are a ton of ways to make money, right? But then there's also kind of like what's popular, what's trending. And what's popular right now is a couple different things, but the short-term rental wave is kind of ending. There's
Yeah,
still a kind of a high uptrend in the concept of like the Airbnb arbitrages, which is like
yeah,
um, people basically renting something and then turning it into renting it long term to turn it
right,
into a short term rental, right?
right.
That's pretty popular because you can get involved in a short term rental business for much less money because you're not buying
Mhm,
a house,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
However, the reason I'm saying this is because if you start going down the rabbit hole of how to make money in real estate, you'll quickly get inundated with multiple different philosophies of how to do it, right? And so all of them work, but does it work for you, right?
Right,
And
right.
then what can change is your particular situation. So let's
Yeah,
use the example of I also am a general contractor, or I'm a handyman, right? I can put up drywall, I can do things, I can do repairs.
yeah.
Well, there might be a more advantageous model. I died, by the way, low left to you.
Oh,
Um,
sorry.
I might be There might be a more advantageous way to do it because it's like, okay, if you can essentially flip houses yourself because you can do the cost that you would have to pay a contractor, well then yeah, you can start looking at the burrs and the things like that where it's like, all right, I'm just going to restore this thing, turn it into a rental. I've spent a fraction of what somebody else would have spent to do this, and then I can do it that way, right? But that became a strength to you because of your existing skill set.
Yep,
Follow? Okay. So I went from like super wide to honing it down to a skill set gives you maybe something that makes more sense.
right,
What I'm saying is that we definitely have we have beyond that. This would be like me saying I own a general contracting business already and I
right,
want to get into real estate, right?
right.
We have midlife. I feel like we have this insane machine that's tried and true, and we can build that machine and make it better for sure. What is the equivalent of for us with when it comes to these channels? What is the equivalent of like, okay, because we have a contractor license, it makes more sense to buy something that is, you know, kind of beat up and restore it at a fraction of the cost and then flip it or rent it or whatever. What is that play based on what we're bringing to the table? Does that make more sense?
Yes, and I think I would go back to again, where are our strengths and what are our plays? Our plays to me are very simple. One, we need to figure out how more effectively to use our connections that we've built. We've built insane connections over the last 2.5 years. So, what does an audit of that look like? How do we bring value to them without asking them anything? So there's that actual like physical relationship element,
Okay.
and then I think too, it is figuring out how to monetize past just building content because the content is such a really, really long game. We still build the content. Obviously, we can't let that machine go by. Uh, but, I just had a guy on like Pro Meet who has basically created Zoom with a Web3 backend. And with that Web3 backend, you can charge per minute or second if you want to broadcast, right? We could be charging people $5 entry just to come listen to us talk right now. So
Jeez.
what are these new and unique ways that we can start monetizing via different platforms beyond the
Okay.
content? I think those are the two things that we need to critically think about and then continue to just get our brand out there, right? And critically deliver our message And the traction that I feel right now after 6 months of really dedicating myself to Web3 is the product of the two things that I just said, which is really starting to think how to monetize past the content. Don't give up on the content. Start effectively utilizing those resources, right? For instance, the prime example is Tyler from DSK. He came on my podcast. We had an immediate connection. We've become incredible friends. I'm now part of his team. We're now figuring out other ways to monetize within the Web3 space, and that all came from the podcast, right? And so these are the opportunities and the things that we need to be thinking about, not just the content. Because for the longest time, we were in the mindset that, hey, the money is going to come from the advertising and the sponsorships, and that is just not the case. Now, building influence we know is important, but that's a long game, and to be honest, we're already on that right path too. What's the right path? Talking to Zach, who we have a meeting with in a week from now, because he's been there and done that, and he understands how to build influences on the platform, right? We need those pieces, and the way we get those is instead of being hyper dedicated to trying to figure out how to crack the code, we've now used which our positive traits are, which is networking and being genuine and meeting new friends to utilize their expertise to help us get where we want to get. So we're doing it all, man. I think I go back to like, we're talking about products of time. We're talking about opportunities that will continue to present themselves. And I think the biggest piece to the puzzle for me is we have a niche that makes sense for me, which is the Web3 stuff. I love it. It's in it. The brand and the podcast makes sense. The midlife idea makes sense in the space. How do we do it for your side? Is it real estate? Is it like I just said?
Can you revive me?
Where are you at? Oh, you're up there. Is it real estate? Or is it you doing the networking stuff that we talked about, right? Or is it spending time on seeing, because you know what you're also incredible with? You're incredible with getting insights, seeing where people might be missing the mark. Does that exist in the real estate space? Is there something that we could be using a Web3 platform like ProMute that I found to start monetizing literally time on how to get things done, right? And I think that the hardest part about all of this, and we know this, right? We talk about it. There's always grays. There's no easy right answer. We could grind and have this mentality for the next 5 years, and maybe something still doesn't click. But I feel like we're going in the right direction, and it will. And I think if we just keep close to the chest, relationships, we know we have a brand, and we have two areas of interest, which are real estate and Web3. Let's utilize our strengths within those areas and continue to grow, build, and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for that. And you know, when we can have, well, we have a little more time, I'll share some of the more in-depth things I'm thinking about. But the reason I'm excited is because to go back to that real estate analogy is if I was 21 years old right now, right?
Right.
I would absolutely, knowing what I know now, use a long-term rental business as a way to secure my future. Why?
Right.
It's a long game, but it's easy and it's stable and it's like investing in a Roth IRA. It's just gonna work if you just do it and you give it the time. It's just a battle of numbers, right? And it's again, it's simple. You buy the properties, you hold on to them. As long as you're making a little bit of money, they'll eventually, imagine at the end of 20 years, you start paying these properties off, and by the time you're 40, 50 years old, now all of a sudden you have 20 houses paid off, 30 houses paid off, 40 houses paid off. Well, get out of here. Are you kidding me? Do you know what that total asset number is? It's millions and millions of dollars,
Yeah,
and it's easy.
that's what my neighbor did
Yeah,
in Livermore, man. He has 20
yeah,
plus houses, some being like waterfront property in downtown Toronto, right?
yeah.
Like,
It's amazing if you have the time to do that, right? I don't have time to wait for 30-year mortgages because I don't want to be 80 years old collecting. Do you know what I'm saying? So I need a different path, and there are different paths, and that's, I guess, what I'm saying is that one of the big things for me was recognizing there's a right audience for all of these things too. And there's
yes,
a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I just want to make sure we're doing what's right for us based on this, because I
yeah,
think that's a big deal.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I agree. I totally agree. And so
and I think,
again,
and what I'm saying is I agree with you that this is the play that is smart for what we're doing. I think this
okay,
uses our strengths and it gives us an opportunity to really capitalize and not have to necessarily play this like uber long game, because that's not why anybody wants to do this, in especially in
right,
Web3, right?
right,
There's
right,
nobody in
right.
Web3 that says what's the 30-year plan.
Yeah,
It just goes against
a
everything that
hundred
we're
percent.
looking for. And I think that
Yeah,
that's, if we can voice that and articulate that well, I think that too will resonate with our audience.
right. And so a couple of things. One, who's Scott? I don't know if that's my buddy from Geico or not, but he said whom said you could look so good. So appreciate the kind words there. That's real nice. And then Bongi made a point, and this is an exact version of content that we need to try to curate from our podcast, right? So this is a great example of Web3 angles that we haven't really tried because we haven't curated the content around this audience, which he says. So maybe the audience you're looking for is either new or breaking into Web3, people who need to learn the pros and cons, up and down, successes, failures, so they're willing to jump in. If we utilize our content to create curated content based around that theme, I think it could slay, right? Because
Yeah.
even using YouTube as a research tool, I think if you say how to get into Web3, there might be a handful of videos that people have actually made that are good content, right? So
Yeah, that are worthwhile. All right.
yeah, so that's
That's
a
good
treasure
advice. I like
trove
that,
too, right? And
Bonji with
so
the
so
wisdom.
what is the answer there for real estate? I don't know too. Maybe it is just getting in. I
I
mean,
know what the
that's
answer
what
is
they're
for real
doing.
estate. I have my answers for real estate. That is the area I research, right? But I was just
Right.
curious what it is here,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that was my first like 3 months of research. Was okay, there's a million ways to do this. Like, how do I want to skin this cat when it comes to real estate? Because I wanted to do long-term investments at first because I was like, I can manage that, right? But then
Yeah.
once I realized, holy crap, I got to do this for 20 years before it
Yeah.
really pays off well.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And I finally talked to a guy who's like, yeah, I had 40 properties, and then he made the
Bosses
switch
up.
over to arbitrage, and all of a sudden he was like, I had 3 properties making more money than the other 50 combined. And he's like,
Yeah.
he's like, I wish I just would have known that, because I wanted to make money fast.
Yeah.
And I just, if I had been doing this from the beginning, I'd already be worth $100 million, you know?
Right.
It's
And
like,
so there we
okay,
have our strategy right there. And now it's how do we combine midlife to get us to that goal, right? And
yes.
and and you know Bonji makes Bonji, and so here are my ideas um for Web3, right? One that Bonji just said, which is by far we have the content to I mean even as simple as this, right? Making multiple different
Yeah.
ways to get the
Come down
video
where I am.
out. uh oh, and I was saying, come up here, the boss is here, bro. You're
Oh,
gonna get
I'm
some
fighting a boss.
solid loot. Solid loot. No, get that. This is the big boss coming. Come quick.
Oh, all right.
You're not too far away. You can get there. You know, multiple different forms of here are the people we trust. We've talked to over 200 founders. We are the people that you can trust. You also can trust our opinion. No one's saying that in the space, right? And we do that through a thread. We do that through a short form video. We do that through long form video. We do that through our, clipping up our podcast and see how that resonates, right? The
Okay.
other thing that I do see, and I'm going to own this, and I'm doing this in an intelligent way with spaces, with the narrative that I keep on repeating in the podcast, and intelligently selecting the communities that I spend my time in is
Mhm.
this whole brand 3.0 community narrative that I've had from day one, right? You've
Yeah.
heard me say this a bajillion times. Well, it's actually happening now, right? And people are understanding that 2021, 2022 hype is not sustainable. So, how do you sustain it? You use community in an intelligent way to use NFTs to grow a company, right? And so that
Yeah.
is happening now. So that is, I think, the other niche area of expertise that we can apply our brand and my brand to in Web3. Those two alone are like the first place that you start. And again, like I said before, I'm doing the Web3 community thing not just by making videos and trying to get followers on Twitter and Instagram. I'm doing that by inserting myself into communities in a smart, intelligent way, leading spaces with people I believe in. Like, for instance, I co host this district space now with this
Mhm.
guy, JR, who created the original anime PFP project, Oni Force, the guy that created 110 million dollars worth of volume in 8 days, right?
Yeah.
So me and him are co-hosting a space together, and that came from, okay, this guy is onto something. Not only is that does he have
You revive
influence,
me.
um, he just got Iggy Azalea into our crew, right? So this
Oh
guy
man.
is genius when it comes to marketing and influence, but at the same time, heart of gold, wants to do the right thing, was literally an art teacher in a high needs, low income school district in Denver, right? So he
Got it.
resonates with our brand. And now I'm spending time there, and I just showed up to every space that he did, and I did it, for 14 days in a row. And I didn't even have to ask him. He just invited me and said, "Hey, man, I think it would make sense if you co-host the space with me." That is an example of us doing what we should do, but not making content. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah. So that's more focusing on the networking side, building
Yeah,
relationships.
absolutely. But still, that relationship is now built, and a byproduct of that is now another medium to get Mikey G midlife and our brand in general exposure. Yeah, I can't tell you already how many times I've talked about our podcast and how great they've been and insights that I've gained through a different medium, right? But that's still building our brand. It's building what we do. I mean, I said it last space last night, and someone was like, "Who did you talk to again? How can I see that?" And by the way, if you've noticed, we cracked the 600 mark on subscribers in YouTube. And
Mhm.
by the way,
Mhm.
that's all been Web3 effort. We've not even made YouTube content other than our podcast in months, right?
And what's interesting when you look at the pie chart is some of that content is still being searched, which is cool.
100%.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm actually
So,
out of health potions. Haven't had that happen. And I'm dead.
up. Hold on. This guy's gonna freaking wreck me. Did we
Yeah,
beat?
no,
Did
I agree. I think the main thing is, and we've been saying this, man, for ever, is we we
got
we,
her?
we just got to stay the path
Yeah.
and stay consistent.
Where are you?
And that's bottom left. That's such a big
That
deal.
that's it, man. That's it. And the guy that I had on today, his name was Tony. Really fascinating story. We really resonated. He had built, and this is a prime example, right? He had built a Web3 consulting firm. Dude was not a dev, but he was an entrepreneur. But came from my situation, 15-year corporate career. But he saw the opportunity in Web3, and all he did was, like we were saying, he ingrained himself in two communities. And he met everybody he possibly can, 16 hours a day, building relationships and just constantly thinking, what is that? There's problems here that I know I can solve. There's problems here I know I can solve. And he came to the conclusion that all of these launches were happening and they were a disaster and they're going to fall apart, right? And
Yeah.
through that time of networking, he finally met two devs that were geniuses that he truly trusted and believed in. And he said, "Guys, I'm going to start a company. How much money do you need to make a year?" And they said, we need $100,000 a year and we'll do whatever you want. And he said, okay, give me an option, give me an opportunity to get you there, but you have to trust me on this. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to start analyzing contracts and project launches, and we're going to do it for free. And they both looked at him like deer in the headlights. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about, guy? And after the first 2 contracts, there was such a need for people because they wanted to launch these projects so fast, and there was no good Solidity devs. And he was like, my 2 devs, like the first 2 contracts, they listed so many holes and put the fear of God in these project founders that they were begging to pay us to fix it, right? And he was like, since then, never put a dime in marketing, and I've grown my business exponentially because of that, right? And so again, what I'm getting at is that was all part of networking, understanding the problem, understanding the content you're trying to deliver. But yet this guy is not a dev, still doesn't understand hardcore dev, but he surrounded himself with the right people. And that is the ultimate #1 gold thing that we are doing, right? And so slow grind over time, and we'll keep on going. And he's been at it for over 3 years, and now it's really starting to pop, right? And now what's happening, which is kind of happening with us, which is being invited to part of the teams, people recognizing our brand and genuine aspect. And now the next 6 months, there's monetization revenues and opportunities way past our stream that could be way more lucrative because of what we've built. And that was the same guy's narrative, right? He's now co-owner of 3 to 4 different companies, all based off that original idea that he did. Now our journey's a little bit different, but what we haven't backed down from, and I've said this to you multiple times, the most valuable thing that I've done in the last 2.5 years is had hundreds, if not over 1,000 one-on-one half-hour calls, and starting off saying this, listen, worst case scenario, we met a new friend in Web3. Best case scenario, you're coming on the podcast and we find a way to collaborate thereafter. And that's it, bro. I think it's that simple.
I think that it is that simple over a period of time. Yes.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. And that's important for people to understand,
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you one that blew my mind is there are a couple people back during the heyday that I was just checking on Discord and on Twitter and just seeing like, what are they up to? What's going on? And there's a couple people who, they were just in it trying to figure out like everybody else was. They were doing the same dang things, trying to chat as much as they can to hopefully get, a spot, on to get like whitelist or whatever it was. I know it's that at the time, but it's like it's so interesting to me that now they've been doing that and they've just done it for 3 years, and most of them all have 10,000, 15,000 followers. And which blows my mind because it's like most of them quit, right? Most of them are gone, but the ones that stayed have these pretty incredible results simply because even they didn't even do it well. They just did it for 3 years, which is
bro.
wild.
You remember our first guest, Kook, who was the biggest wild card podcast we've ever had.
Yeah.
That guy is like a big thing in the space now, like a large thing. And
this is the one from Portugal.
Yeah, that was high as a kite and started
like from the bar.
Yeah, we started the podcast in the bar. We were like, what is happening?
That was wild.
That guy is a thing, man. Like he runs the Solana space at this point, right? And again, he just didn't give up. And we're talking about Kook, man. If Kook can do it, anyone can do it. And Kook would even say that himself. Which means, by the way, we got to reach back out to Kook and get him back on this show. That would be a wild catch up.
Dude.
Kook.
Could you imagine?
You remember when you were reviving TS Tacos and we bought those live online?
Dude, we bought them live because he was talking about it. Yeah. I remember that. I remember them going down to like negative 40 cents.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was possible to have negative money, but apparently you can.
Absolutely, man. I mean,
Dude.
all of this, and that's another big opportunity I think we have is, and what I don't see is harnessing history and harnessing our experience for our messages as well. Most people, when they're trying to be content creators or dealing with something, they're just trying to tell you what the next hype project is. We have a huge opportunity to talk about the wins, the losses, really based back on our brand, right? But do it in a genuine way to help people out in the space, you know?
Yeah. No, 100%, man. And just to close it out, I was using the example of a Rubik's Cube, right? And I just feel like we're chasing the color. And there's all these people out in the space that are just calling what the next hyped color is. And everybody's
Yeah,
frantically trying to move their Rubik's Cube to that color. But the
right.
truth is once you figure out how to solve it, what the trick is, and all the sides are matched,
Yeah,
it's over. You don't have to chase anything anymore. And I think that
right,
that's where, we've learned enough to know stop chasing it, learn the system, build it, and then once it's built, it's done forever. And that fires me up, man. That gets me
yeah,
really excited. So
yeah.
I got a lot more to tell you. I do have a hard cut, so I have to head out. But yeah, man, things on the real estate front for midlife are looking real nice,
Real
and
nice. That's what I
I'm
like to
excited.
hear.
I'm really excited. So
That's what I like to
um,
hear.
I'll catch you up on that on a different time. But yeah, man, get excited. We this is a 1-2 punch, right? Because the name real estate requires funds. Just there's no way around it. You can't play with real estate without money. But
Right.
there is a bubble forming, and I'm excited to talk to this because I do think this is actually a trending topic because a lot of
Yeah.
people are interested in this.
Yeah.
There's a bubble that's bursting at the seams. They've tried to sustain it so many different ways, both from government side and even local municipalities, and even just hype on real estate
Yeah.
and some of these rentals. They basically prolonged a bubble too long, and there's going to be homes that, I mean, there are builders right now selling homes for two-thirds of what they of the original price. You know what I mean? So you're finding these
Right.
things with like massive, massive discounts.
Right.
And where it's really winning is a bunch of these people that decided, up, I saw a YouTube video, I'm going to start flipping houses, even though they had no idea what to do. Bought a house, spent $100,000 fixing it up, and then realized, the house they bought with the repairs is not worth what they've put into it. And
Right.
so they're losing money, and these things are sprinkling in. Bro, there's a ton of opportunity. There's a ton of
I'm
opportunity.
so
So um,
excited.
yeah, man. But it's just going to be one of those things where you don't have to have $1 million, but you got to have money. You have to have money, and you have to have a good relationship with lending, which is interesting that we're coming from a Web3 background because
Yeah.
everything about the NFT and crypto crowd is really the opposite end of that. And so
Yeah.
you want to talk about an interesting phase is the legitimization, if that's a word, of crypto.
Dude.
What's going
And
to happen?
I'll tell you this
How do
right.
we turn this wealth into real money that's usable in the real world? And
Right.
what does that
Right.
look like? Because a lot of these
Yep.
people have had to figure that out.
Yep. Dude, I have the two things that you could be doing on the midlife Web3 side right now. It's perfect. Networking, real world assets when it comes to real estate. When those if you're doing the traditional real estate thing and when real world assets and tokenization of real estate really do smash together, it's
Hmm.
going to be a massive opportunity. So continuing
Incredible.
to research that and not even research it, meet the right people. And we got
Yeah.
to get this guy on that we own. It's called The Forge, and it's all about tokenizing real estate assets. And this guy is a fucking goat. And that is the beginning of a beautiful relationship too. So
Yeah. I
we
love
got
it.
to make it happen,
I
man.
love it, man. This is good. Man,
All right,
OG
brother.
Crypto chiming in. Love it.
Oh, by the way, but before you go, before you shut that down, Crypter 69 1205. He got Diablo 4. He will be playing with us next time.
Yes. I'm in,
I
man. I
just I
love it.
just sent I just sent you a friend request, Crypter. And that being said, hey, We love you all like
Yeah,
usual.
absolutely. Bonji,
Matty,
good to hear from you, man. I'm so glad you're doing well. Hope everything's crushing.
yeah, we love you, Bonji, man. And Cryptor, we love you too. Super excited to start playing with you. Thanks for watching all. We love you all. Midlife, Mikey G and Matty Mints are out.